Some old favorites are coming back, but bringing along a couple of new friends as Disney doubles down on diversity. It's a week full of old friends coming back, while others were still wondering when we'll see them again. Lightning Lane goes crazy and Update heads out to Rancho Mirage to check out Disney moving to the desert. We've got construction updates, project updates, and all the breaking news of the week. Sit back because it's your weekly Disneyland Update.
Thanks for traveling with us today, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit to the Disneyland Resort.
Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Bricky here. It's time for your weekly update of everything new that's happening at the Disneyland Resort. Trams are back. So good to be riding on this red chariot once again. If there's a theme for this week's update, it's the road back to normalcy. So many new things have come back, and Disneyland has announced that so many other great things are getting ready to come back. This week, Disney finally gave us the news that we've all been waiting to hear. Nighttime shows are returning to the Disneyland Resort. 3 favorites will be showing up on Friday, April 22nd, and we've got one more coming to us in the month of May. Let's break down this tremendous news because everyone is so excited that the nighttime shows, Walt's Kiss Goodnight, is coming back to us. The Main Street Electrical Parade will be returning as the first big-time parade coming back to the Disneyland Resort. Now, we did have a Christmas Fantasy during the holiday season, and then for Oogie Boogie guests, you were able to see the Halloween parade over at DCA. But as far as a signature parade, something that's not attached to a festival or a holiday, Main Street Electrical Parade will be returning for its 50th anniversary. And I feel confident I can speak on behalf of Disneyland fans everywhere to say this is the moment we've been waiting for nighttime parades to come back to Disneyland. And what a great one to start off with. Disney did announce, though, that there will be a revision to the Main Street Electric Parade. They will be removing the final parade float to honor America. And I'm going to say honor America in a different kind of way. Instead of a flag and symbols of patriotism, it will be returning with symbols of diversity, allowing everyone standing up and down Main Street and the rest of the parade route to not only see their favorite characters, but to see characters that represent them. And I full on expect a little bit of controversy because as we've seen Disney try to work on diversity, there is a certain segment that pushes back. So what I think Disney did that was incredibly insightful is they made this grand finale of the Main Street Electrical Parade as a celebration of actual Disneyland by choosing It's a Small World as its theme. And then by using It's a Small World as your facade or as your theme, you can then choose to have children from all around the world and characters from around the world as your grand finale. Where I think this is going to be controversial, though, is there's a certain segment that says, do not touch the flag, do not touch anything that's patriotic. And there's another group that says that they hate IPs and they just want the park to go back to original ideas, which I would say the American flag and patriotism is an IP. It's just one that we all own, but it is something that you understand what it symbolizes and means. When you look at this parade float, you easily understand how they were able to take what already existed, but just retheme it for a different generation. A generation, right or wrong, has had an iPad in its hand since they were a baby. And I'm not knocking the magic of light bulbs making a moving caterpillar going down the road, but I am saying there's a generation that maybe expects a little bit more. And taking this old school patriotic float, turning it over into showing all kinds of different cultures, all kinds of different children around the world through the IP that today's youth understands and identifies with, and also the ability to make the parade extremely relevant with putting Disney's new Encanto inside of the parade, which is just breaking all kinds of records everywhere. So this move, I think, is great. It takes something that is old and makes it new again, which is something that Walt always wanted. But when you have something such as Main Street Electrical Parade, there are some people that saw it when they were 8 years old, and now they're going to be 58, and the world has changed a lot in 50 years. And I think Main Street Electrical Parade changing with the times is one of the things that I love about Disney. However, doing this particular job, I see a lot of people's opinions, and I've come to understand it's something that some people in the Disney community are not excited about. They don't like these changes, and Disney taking something that represents America and turning it into something else. It almost doesn't even matter what that next subject was. It was going to be a place for them to ruffle their eagle feathers. I would love to know what you think about all of this. Are you excited for the change? Do you think that this was the proper float to change over? Do you think that I'm right here that changing this will make this parade more relevant to your young ones that have maybe never seen this before, or the last time they saw it, they don't even remember because it hasn't gone down Main Street in years? My personal favorite is Paint the Night, but I understand you couldn't have Paint the Night without having first Main Street Electrical Parade celebrating 50 years of nighttime magic. And to balance out the attraction of Main Street Electric over in Disneyland, World of Color is returning to DCA so that the Disneyland balance will be perfect. Forcing you to choose which nighttime show that you're going to pick is the best way to keep each park perfectly balanced with the right amount of guests so that one park doesn't get too heavy and create an unhealthy amount of guests. But World of Color coming back, this is amazing news because I love this show. I love the technology, I love the pacing, and I love how this show builds. Just one magic trick right after the other. Long live the king. And as if that's not enough, the best, in my opinion, nighttime fireworks show is returning, Disneyland Forever. Just think, all of this is yours. I love it so much. I love this because it truly celebrates Walt and Disneyland and his achievements. It relies on telling the story of Disneyland, not so much about all the new movies, and you can see it all around the resort because Disneyland Forever is the show that brought the projection technology to everywhere around the resort. So now you can be a part of the festivities even if you're not standing on Main Street. But I want to be standing right there on Main Street. So if you're not in the nighttime shows, this is great news because this is an amazing time to crush rides. But if you are in the nighttime shows, this is amazing news because 3 great ones are coming back. Make sure you just plan ahead, you pick your nights, you plan your day accordingly. And keep in mind, you don't have to stand in line forever. There's no saving spaces. If you see an open spot on the other side of that rope, that spot is yours. No matter how ugly of looks you get from the person that's standing there, there's no holding spaces. There's no need to stand there for an hour. I always show up 5 minutes before and get a great spot. And if you don't care about this, it's a magical time to rip rides. With the trams coming back and now nighttime shows coming back and other different locations around the resort slowly reopening their doors, it just feels really good. And then just put a little cherry on top of everything to celebrate the kickoff of summer on May 28th. Fantasmic's coming back. The best nighttime show Disney has ever made, ever. I've already got my scarf ready. I am ready to wave goodbye to everyone on the Mark Twain. Speaking of old friends coming back home to Disneyland, Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta reopened. If you remember last week, I was able to actually catch them in there doing some training with cast members. And I said, hey, any day now it's going to come back. And it is back. So if you're looking for a place to get salads, pizza, pasta, some dessert, some beverages, maybe a beer, this is a great place to stop in because it has so many different options for everyone in your group. The food's pretty good. It's theme park affordable. And it has a ton of seating around it. This is one of the most relaxing spots to find a place to eat in all of the Disneyland Resort. I've really missed it not being there because just kind of chilling back there in the gardens is a great way to reboot your day without spending a ton of money. I always feel like this is kind of a cousin to the Plaza Inn. The Plaza Inn has a way different menu, but it always is a friendly place that you can normally go in with a reasonable wait time and then find a great place to sit and sort of burn out an hour of your day, just rebooting your energy. And I've always found that Boardwalk has that similar vibe with just a lot of seating all around it. A lot of that seating is shaded, and unlike Pacific Wharf that can just be crowded and very noisy, This place has a lot of different nooks and crannies and various places where you can kind of sit and get away. The loudest thing you're going to hear is the roar of the Incredicoaster or Goofy's Flight School, and those are the type of noises that I come to Disneyland to hear often. You have 3 main food stations, a drink station, and then you check yourself out, and then they have some desserts and grab-and-go beverages up there, and you can pop in and get any of these things. Let me know if you'd like for me to do a deep dive on the backstory of this restaurant, because there's a cool Disney trick that a lot of people don't know. Hey friends, I hope you're enjoying Update as much as I've been enjoying it, but I wanted to give you a heads up that Update is going to go on a 2-week break. We'll still be here next week to show you everything new that's happened at the Disneyland Resort, but then we're going to go on a 2-week break because I'm booked to stay out at the Star Wars Hotel. So we will have a week of daily Walt Disney World live streams, followed by a week of Walt Disney World daily vlogs. So for 2 weeks, we'll have a lot of different entertainment coming your way, and then we'll get back to walking the grounds of the entire Disneyland Resort and letting you know everything new that's happened in that week out at Disneyland. So we'll be here again next week, 2-week break, a week of live streams, and a week of vlogs, all from Walt Disney World. So excited to get back to Roy's Magic Kingdom. And of course, you know that means that I'm going to have my coverage from staying at the Halcyon, and you know I'm going to give it to you straight and honest. Does the design aesthetic keep up to the attention of detail that we expect from Disney and Star Wars? And how's the overall experience? How does this live action gameplay work with a couple hundred people, strangers put together inside of a hotel? But don't worry, I already have my backstory written, and as I promised, I'm going to go there and try my hardest to live a Star Wars story, and then afterwards record it in a radio play for each and every one of you, so you can actually hear. A lot of people will show you what it's going to look like, but I'm going to really commit myself to living the Star Wars story and letting you know how Disney delivers on that very, very ambitious promise. So excited to get out to Walt Disney World and get to experience all of the parks and the new hotel, but sad that next week will be my last visit inside of ToonTown. I've been having so much fun watching this project come together. Last week we saw them putting those tiles up on the wall. We've been watching them slowly go around the shapes of these different pieces of contour that will create back silhouettes of this backdrop that they're working on. But man, I'm going to miss this project so much. So for me, an update, next week is the last time that we'll be able to be inside of ToonTown for over a year. But don't you worry, we'll be following it from up top of Mickey and Friends parking structure. But you can see the good stuff is getting ready to happen. There's scaffolding all on top of this steel framework, which means that soon they're going to be building the facade of the El Capitan Theater, which I'm so excited to see that come to life. As you've probably heard, I really enjoy the aesthetic of this land. I love how it feels cartoony. It mirrors our world, but goes into their world, sort of a half step between the two. And I was excited that Kenny P. Rocks, if you're nasty, announced that there's going to be an additional scene and some enhancements inside of our version of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway that don't exist at the already fantastic version of this attraction out at Walt Disney World at Hollywood Studios. I'm hoping that that extra scene or whatever it is, I'm hoping that it's either California-centric or Disneyland-centric. That would be really, really cool to kind of tie it into the hometown. But man, that building is gone. I mean, you know, we can see that the work that they're doing, but when we came in here, when the park reopened and we saw that massive "What building? There's no building" banner, I mean, if you look at it and kind of squint your eyes, they have done a really good job already of pushing ToonTown into its own landscape. When you're back here, you feel like nothing else exists, and that's part of the Disney parks aesthetic that I love so much, just that total and full immersion. So we can see how everything's kind of cutting around for future shapes to come, and I'll try to get as many of those for us to check out as we can on top of Mickey and Friends. And it also seems like Disney's going to probably be excited to share lots of bits and pieces about this with us, because I want to remind everybody we're going to have a better experience for kids and families. Okay, let's move over to the West End Downtown Disney project, where this construction is going pretty fast. I kept saying, hey, they got a lot of stuff to tear down. I don't think they're going to be able to get the monorail back up on March 6th like they predicted. Maybe they will, because this thing is coming down pretty quickly. Keep in mind, everything that you see over in the top right that looks like bricks, that's full sheets of sheetrock. So each one of those is like 4 by 8 foot, then patched together to make that wall. But here's where we were at last week. Last week, Update was first on the scene to see just one little tractor that had gone through the side of the building. And now, what building? All right, so over on your right-hand side, you see a crane and you see something that's being draped down. That is being draped just to catch some of the debris, some of the dust, so that it doesn't blow over into the Plant Life or over to Grand California Hotel. That's just a little shield kind of to keep some of the debris and keep the mess kind of inside of this area. When you're tearing down buildings, the amount of dust and dirt that can kind of mushroom up is pretty drastic. So that's just like a little shield they have there to kind of keep everything quarantined off to this area. But look, you can now clear a shot of the Lego building right over there on the other side of the monorail. So yeah, not a lot to report other than the walls are coming down and it's just getting shredded and at a fast pace. We'll obviously check in when we do update 16 next week, but when we come back 2 weeks after that, this whole thing could just be down to dirt and the monorail could be back to doing laps, which would just be awesome to have both the monorail and the trams running parallel to each other again. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. It's all coming back together. But look at this. They are literally just dismantling this. You can just see that they're starting in one area and just kind of going around in like a half circle, slowly ripping everything down. But man, this one is buzzing and it's exciting. All right, it's time for your weekly project tracker where I just look around the resort and keep you up to date on various little projects. The clock is back on Main Street, which is just one of those things that makes it feel more real. You can see that there's that scrim on the other side of the clock for the China Closet rehab that's going in on the front facade there. And it's not themed like the banner that's back up over at Fantasy Fair. I've been lucky the last couple of weeks and caught some windy days, so we're able to actually look in and see these construction projects. But I'm so curious why Disney's not always doing these more decorative banners. I remember in the past when you would look down Main Street where they're doing the construction over there on the left at the Crystal Arcade, that used to just have like a scrim that was a photo or an illustration or a rendering of what that building looked like. So if this was your first and only time ever at Disneyland, you wouldn't feel so robbed of what's behind the box. You would actually know what it would typically look like and use your imagination to put together the rest. And I understand on a project like this, like I don't expect you to print out like a section of the Mark Twain, but why not do a cool Mark Twain like old school logo there, a little bit of typography? And then just the projects that are not even worried about covering up anymore is Tarzan's Treehouse. Like, what is going on with this thing? And friends, did you ever get a gremlin for Christmas? You know the rules. You can't feed it after midnight. Don't get it wet or it'll multiply. And somebody got the boxes over in Hollywoodland wet, or they fed them after night, because they're just doubling. They're growing. They're having spawn boxes of their own. The boxes are now having more boxes. And it's so weird because as they're doing this, I believe, sidewalk project, the boxes are all directly across from each other, which makes going down the street very, very narrow. And this area is going to be a part of Food and Wine that kicks off next Friday. So I'm so curious to see how long will these stay up? Why are they doing so many at one time? And was it not smarter to just do one side of the street and then come over and do the other side, or do them every other? I am sometimes fascinated by the decision making, and I know that it's always for something that I don't understand. That's why I'm fascinated about it. Okay, look at this. The barn doors have been blown off the little mini lighthouses over at the World of Color Lagoon. Lots and lots of testing going on. I was able to see some workers out there with their bobcats cruising around and working on some of the electronics. I said, hey, do you guys need an opinion? You need me to stay here late tonight and kind of give you a vibe if it's looking good or not? Because I'll do that for you. And they said, no, Bricky, go home. We don't need you here. But yeah, exciting to see World of Color slowly coming back. We now know that we're about a month and a half away from being able to see this nighttime show return, and just one more step closer. That's the theme, man. One more step closer to things getting back to normal. Once this does finally come together, I'm going to do a deep dive 1 week on Update, just showing you this whole construction progress, because we've been filming this since they took the water out, watching them rebuild those platforms that the towers stand on. And I'm going to assume there's a little bundle of these pieces. See those parts over to the left? There's a bundle of those sitting next to almost every little lighthouse. I'm going to assume that that's going to get tacked on to the bottom when they're done working, and a portion of that will actually go down into the water, because as right now you can see it's floating up on the concrete pedestals. That'll probably seam it up, and there's some spotlights for watercolor hidden up inside of Incredicoaster. Okay, with Fantasmic coming back, my question is this: do you think there will be any specialty seating with the new Pelican Bay? I have heard people talk about this, and I've talked about it with some friends that are in the know. I think this might be a little bit too far over to the left to the screen that actually would project over there, because Fantasmic has 3 major viewpoints. It's sort of a half circle divided up into 3 aqua video boards, for lack of better terms. So I think that this one's going to be skewed a little bit too far over to the left, but I mean, if you can sit there and look at it from an angle, it'll be relaxing. But Fantasmic has had Tom Sawyer's Island all kinds of torn up with construction and scaffolding and scrims coming up and down as we have the wind. And it's interesting that there are 3 different projection areas, and we have 3 different areas that have been exposed from the water. I would love a crash course on how this entire thing works and operates. Sounds like it's time for me to make another documentary. Who wants a Fantasmic documentary? Coming soon to the channel. And this weekend will be, I believe, the last weekend of the Celebrate Gospel, part of Soulfully, that's happening back in the Fantasyland Theater. And it's just so cool to see the Fantasyland Theater to be used. I love the idea of just different kinds of events coming in and out of Disneyland. And I'll say this about Celebrate Gospel. You may not be a gospel music fan, and I'm not really either, but when you see anybody who's really good at their genre of music, you could go, okay, that was entertaining. That was awesome. Like, I don't care what the genre is. If somebody's good at it, they'll make you a believer for an afternoon. And Silhouette Studio, when is it coming back? I would like to see Silhouette Studio come back, because it's just such a fun little keepsake, a really clever merch item. I hope that comes back soon. And also, with the outdoor nighttime shows coming back, when can we expect the indoor shows to come back? Would like to see something at the Hyperion Theater. And oh, what is this? Breaking news, Lightning Lane has gone mad. These people are all standing in line to ride Guardians of the Galaxy. So are these people. And yeah, so are the people that are inside of the courtyard there. All of these people paid money to skip the line, and they find themselves in a huge line, which means that if you didn't pay, 185 minutes. That's 3 hours and some change. So yeah, that is wild. All right, friends, this is our first COTINO update. We're going to be doing these once a month, going out to the desert, bringing you up to speed on what's happening at the construction of this Disney project, but also just kind of giving you the vibe of Palm Springs and Rancho Mirage. So if you do come out for a vacation, you realize you don't have to stay in the Disney bubble, because there is so much for you to do, and there's just an aesthetic that is uniquely the Coachella Valley, which I absolutely adore. So we won't be doing this all the time, but once a month I'll go out there and show you some things happening both on Disney's property and off property to give you an idea of what the vibe is. Okay, this is me doing my first ever drive around the massive 4-mile circumference of Disney's new resort, COTINO, that construction will probably start on sometime soon, but right now there is no fences, there's no construction walls, so I was actually able to go out and walk the property. And man, oh man, are the views breathtaking. This is the direction that all of the Disney property will sort of sit on. So this is the backdrop from dining, shopping, sitting on the beach. Those mountains are all right across from where the Disney's sort of shopping area, the town center will be, because that's going to sit right back in this spot, which will then block out the view of the neighborhoods that are flanking it and a Lowe's that's over there on the intersection. Shout out to my friends that spotted me coming out of the desert and said, "Hey, Bricky, what's up?" It was so awesome to already see citizens of Disneyland on the edge of COTINO at my very first visit. I already made new friends. It was amazing. Greetings, fellow citizens of COTINO. Bricky here, coming to you from the future site of the newly announced Disney Residence, Disney Resort. We're not quite exactly sure what it is and what all parts Disney owns. So if you're wondering where I'm at right now, after studying the blueprints that I found online from the environmental studies, I should be standing right at the edge of the mall, the shopping area, right? There's a little plaza that comes in diagonal off this corner that I'm standing at. And to each side of me, eventually, you will come up to a hotel over here and then another hotel over to this side. Flanked in between those hotels is where that beautiful crystal blue lagoon will begin. The lagoon will be the heart of the entire resort, which is 4 miles circumference. I believe it's about 600 and something acres inside. That lagoon will have a public beach on this side for guests that get a day pass or stay in one of the 2 different resort hotels. But on the far side of the lagoon, sort of a right angle from where we're at, if you will, there'll be a private beach for residents of COTINO that live over in about 1,400 different homes that will be built. Single family, like deluxe homes, will be built on the crest line, the shoreline of that beautiful blue lagoon. And then behind that, you will get into smaller family homes, mixed family homes, condominiums, and really as you get away from the core, I'm assuming that the size of your place goes down as well as the price point. So to be in the core, in the center of it, you're gonna pay a premium, which no shocker there, but also Disney has done a job of sort of keeping the urban, the business side of it, very separated from the residential side of it. Obviously, if you live in the residential side, you could come over and enjoy the commercial side and go to dinner or enjoy some of the nice amenities of shopping or hanging out with your loved ones. But I believe there will be a level of protection to keep the community people a little bit more separated from everybody else so that they don't always just have people walking through their front yard and be like, "Hey man, how much does this cost? Wish I could live in a Disney story." So I do believe that it'll sort of be a tale of a lot of different people living different things here. And I'm thinking most people will probably do this as vacation homes, but we'll see what happens. And first, they gotta put a shovel in the ground, and we'll see when that happens too. All I know is this: there's new Disney coming to Southern California, and I'm excited about the design. Now, living inside of a Disney story, I don't think that part is for me. I'm not looking to purchase a house here. I don't think that that's exactly where I want my relationship with Disney to go. Like, living inside of a Disney story does not sound like a fantasy for me. It sounds like a nightmare. But I'll say this, I'm excited to see the design of this come together. I'm excited to enjoy this as a resort. I love coming out to the desert. I love coming out to Palm Springs. So looking at this as an idea of a place to vacation is something that I'm very, very attracted to. Thinking about this as a place to live, not for me. So friends, it is a big bunch of nothingness, but it is absolutely huge. The space that I am walking on right now is the same size of all the Disneyland hotels, both Disneyland theme parks, California Adventure and Disneyland proper, all of the parking lots, even add in Anaheim's City Walk and go on the other side of Highway 5. And that's how big this space is. 4 miles if you walk around its entire border, and it is beautiful, beautiful real estate. Whether you're on board with the idea or not, it doesn't matter. If you came out here, you'd say, at least it's gorgeous. This is literally a blank canvas waiting to be put together and turned into something by Disney Imagineering. That's the part of this story that I like. But there are lots of other parts of this story that I'm not personally into, but of course, professionally, very, very curious. So whether this becomes a smash hit that surprises everybody or an epic failure, either way, there's going to be a good story there, and that's the story that I want to bring to you. If this is a place that you're envisioning living in and buying a property or space, more power to you. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's just not for me. But if it's for you, hopefully this video series will allow you to see your dreams slowly get put together. And for all the naysayers, and I know there's a lot of you, I get what you're saying. I don't think that you're wrong. I think that there are a lot of other things that maybe Disney could do with their money that's a little bit more ethical or maybe a little bit more practical for where the company's at. I totally hear everybody who has a very, very negative opinion on this and say, you're right. But to the people that are excited about this, that want to come out here and enjoy it and purchase one of the homes or live out here or retire out here, I say you're right too. This is something that is not custom fit for all. The part that I really want to focus on is the design aspect of it, the build of it, the drama of it, and eventually the vacationing of it. Being just 2 hours from the Disneyland Resort, I can imagine hardcore Disney fans coming out to Anaheim, spending some days in Disneyland proper, and then wanting to come out to the desert. For folks that are thinking that way, I want to create a video series that shows you, is it worth the haul down to Rancho Mirage? And when you come down here, what else can you do that's not on Disney property? What can you do in Palm Springs or Rancho Mirage? This is one of the greatest hidden secrets of all of America, and I've been to 49 out of the 50 states, so I've seen some America. But I'm telling you right now, Disney coming out here is an exciting prospect for me and for so many other people, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the Imagineering and the design of this. And then that other part, living in a Disney story, that's the part that I want to observe as a journalist, but not observe as somebody who wants to live in a Disney story. I want to go to Disney to get away, and then I want to go back home and get away from Disney. I don't want to stay inside of it. I think one of the things that has given a lot of the naysayers ammunition on this, and rightfully so, I understand what they're saying when people say story living, right? Your life should be its own story. My life story is very unique to yours, and that's what makes each of us special and interested in each other. I think the branding of this is not so hot, because it's essentially saying we're going to tell you how to live, or you're going to live inside of this story. And then a lot of people equate Disney and stories as happily ever after, everything goes your way. And the real world, we know, just doesn't work that way. So I think maybe instead of focusing on story living, they could have went with something that is a little bit more of, designed by Disney or Disney design community. There could have been something a little bit that says, we're going to make a blank slate for you to live and tell your own story. But story living, I think that that's where maybe this project has put a little bit of a bad taste in people's mouths. So friends, I just wanted to kind of tell you what my opinions were on this. This popped up pretty quick. That news dropped Tuesday. I was out on the land Saturday, just found the blueprints thanks to Peter over at Ordinary Adventures on Friday night. So this all came together quickly, but I'm going to take this time to study, and next month we'll get into talking about some of the design. I've been going over the proposal that they had for the city of Rancho Mirage and really looking at how this is going to be constructed. So next month we'll be able to get into some of the actual design and break down what's going to be built here, but I thought it was just fun to go out, to be the first one to ever film and live stream from there and just celebrate that there's some new Disney coming to Southern California. And speaking of new Disney coming to Southern California, Food and Wine kicks off next Friday. And hey, I will already be out in Walt Disney World. So I'm going to tell you right now, Magic Journeys, Best Life and Beyond, Dylan over at Theme Park Obsession. There are so many channels that are going to cover this for you and do a really, really great job that do food better than I do. I'm the design guy. I'm the guy that kind of, talks about some of the things you're not supposed to talk about. That's my comfortable spot, existing in the awkwardness. But I did want to show you that all of the new food carts have showed up. And what I do enjoy about this event, even though I don't like how much it clogs the pass and makes DCA feel a little overwhelming, I do like that it's pretty much park-wide, and that they have booths in so many of the different lands, and it really does create like a festival type environment, which I think that sometimes some things labeled a festival don't go there, but this one does. And I'm also excited to be able to see my first ever Epcot festival, right? Because I know that's kind of where Disney really flexes in the festival space. So it'll be interesting to learn from Epcot and then apply that knowledge to what they do. Do you see the kid on the scooter? Did you find the kid on the scooter? He was hiding, but there was a kid on the scooter. Didn't see it till I was editing the video, and I go, there's a kid on the scooter. But hey, it's always avocado time at my house because I got an avocado tree in my yard, which sounds glorious, but really means you got to fight all your neighbors to keep out of your avocado tree. those are my avocados. Leave them in my tree. Look at Cluck-a-Doodle-Moo with their little moving weather vane. Obviously, it's animated because there wasn't that much wind. But definitely, if you're going to check out this event, make sure you go and watch our Lunar New Year coverage where I explain to you how Sip and Savor works, where you're allowed to buy all of your food at one location and then just take your receipt. So then all you're doing is just picking up food. This is my favorite booth. This little lemonade stand looks like it belongs over on Main Street, USA. I really, really think that this is just absolutely adorable and looks very much like Disneyland when everything else looks very much like DCA. Where's the beer? Found it. Fun fact, it never rains under the beer tent. So yeah, the Festival of Beer is in the back. And then we have Golden Dreams just over here on the edge of where San Francisco Street dead ends and Grizzly Peak starts to begin. This is a great, great spot of the park. Don't forget the workers. Come on, man. Over at Eureka. All right, so Golden Dreams, this will be a great spot where you'll be able to go. The old mill was a place where many people could work and make an honest pay for an honest day's hard work. But we'll talk to you later, Disney bud. Shut down the mill. Golden Dreams. Why am I always getting bullied on my own show? Between Jared and Bruce Brickstein, I see these other guys do construction updates and update videos. Nobody's harassing them. Just no respect for Bricky. See you next week.